Hey everyone, Aiden here, and today I'm going to be showing you guys one of the Sorc builds that I play. This build is focused around sustaining your magicka and fight, and hopefully not running out. It's pretty much all around just magicka sustain. Damage, I could have way more damage than this if I needed to, but right now for Sorcs, the cost reduction is higher and the shields went down from 20 seconds to 6 seconds, so it's a lot harder to sustain, so I use this gear to sustain. Now, before I get into this, let me just say I am only 233 champion points, and not all my gear is gold, but this build will work for anyone with 501 champion points, for 160 champion points. It doesn't matter. I'm not going to be going over the champion points for that fact, just because you'll pretty much know what to put them in, just increase damage, reduce cost reduction, just that stuff, but I will not be going over the champion points. Alright, first off, I'm going to go over my stat sheet. I have 33.5k max magicka. This could go up way more, but I will get to that when I need to. 22.5k health, which is decent for a light armored, pretty much Sorc. 8.8k stamina, that's pretty much the same without putting anything into it. 1731 recovery. This is pretty good, and I'm running food, so this is actually very good recovery. If I needed to, I could get up to like 2.2 recovery, I think. So that would be very good if I needed it, but then I'd lose my max. And then I have 229 health. It's terrible. I'm a vampire, stage 4. I'll go over that shortly. Then 668 stamina recovery. Now my spell damage. This is where I'm kind of hurting, and where most Sorcs will be hurting this patch if they want to sustain. I only have 2075 spell damage, and with buffed, that will go up to 2460, and then I have the spell damage enchant on my thing, so it'll go to around probably 2.9ish, so that'll be good. That's good enough spell damage, pretty much, as long as you have pretty much like 2.6 to whatever spell damage. That's pretty good for what you need. So physical and spell resist 11k, physical 9k, not the greatest because I'm a light armor wearing Sorc. I'm running max health and max magicka food. It's just blue food. Stage 4 vampirism, your health regenerates 75% slower, not that big of a deal. Now, in this patch, this is the Dark Brotherhood patch, by the way, if you're not watching this when it's not the Dark Brotherhood patch, but, Vampire is really, really good now, because all the stam decays, they went from fire to, what's it called, poison, and, Vampire got changed around this patch, so it's really, really good, this patch. You take 25% more damage from fire. Fire is not as prevalent in PvP. And if you need to do dungeons, you just feed down to stage 1. Doesn't really matter. Your vampirism abilities cost 21% less. Blah blah blah. I'm running the Atronach, which is magicka recovery. You could use the apprentice for weapon damage, but for this build, I would not suggest that. I mean, the apprentice for spell damage, not weapon damage, but I would not suggest that. Battle spirit, that's just PvP. ESO plus, doesn't matter. Alright, next thing is the skills. It's very, very, like, just normal skill setup. I am on PS4, so I run my ward on my front bar because weapon swapping can be aids on console. So I run Crystal Frags, enough said, stuns them, deals a shit ton of damage, and if you get the proc, it's even better. Crushing Shock, this is a Destro and Resto build, so I'm not using dual with this patch. I don't think it's that great, just because you have to be really, really bursty to use dual wield, and with proxy debt getting nerfed, it's not as good as it used to be, unless you, I mean, it still works, people can still make it work, but I like Destro better, especially for my lower CP. So I use Crushing Shock, which is another DPS thing, and it interrupts them. Hardened Ward, this is on my front bar, instead of my back bar, just because I'm on console. This is just your ward, it just protects you. Endless Fury, this is kind of a shitty execute, but it's really the only one Sorcs get, and I still use it. I think it's good enough for what it does, and so I like it. Malicious Curse, you know, that's standard, deals magic damage after 3.5 seconds. Now this is where it's different. I am too damn lazy to grind all those books to get Mage's Guild 10, so I do not have Meteor or anything like that. If I did, I would be using Meteor here, but instead I am running Soul Assault, which actually, while buffed, let me buff up for you guys real quick, and this is not with the spell damage thing or whatever, 45k magic damage over 4 seconds, which, that's still really good unless you're running against someone with a dick ton of resist. This thing, if your opponent's really tanky, it's not that good. It'll just pretty much ruin their movement speed. But if you're playing against a stam character, this really helps, and it's actually a really good ultimate. Now on my back bar, this is my resto bar, I'm running Daedric Minefield. It's the mines, you pretty much stay in them. If they go in them, they get immobilized. Now Power Surge. Because I am running my ward on my front bar, I run Power Surge on the back. Now what this does, this just increases your weapon and spell damage by 20%, just your buff, and it also heals you if you crit. So say you deal critical strike, it heals you for a little bit of health. Now if I wasn't running my ward on my front bar, I would be using Entropy right here and the ward on the back bar. Entropy is a little bit better, but since I'm on council, I just use the Hardened Ward on my front. Then Healing Ward, this is your heal. Streak, this is the you guys know what Streak is. You just fast forward, deal some damage, and you stun them. I put this on my back bar because Streak, it got a nerf a long time ago, so not too many people run on your front bar. Harness Magicka, it's a decent shield, but it restores Magicka if you get hit with by spell damage, so it's good if you're running against other Magicka characters. Now this ultimate is the Vampire Ultimate, Clouding Swarm. It just grants you invisibility. Sorry, I can't talk, but it grants you invisibility. You could use Devouring Swarm if you wanted, but I use Clouding Swarm. Alright, so now that I have the skills and I showed you my stat sheet, now to get into the gear. Now this gear is very similar to what Cypher runs. I kind of got this build idea from him, and because it is pretty much what most people run now because of the shields and stuff, but it has some tweaks. I'm running Inferno Staff with a Seducer sharpened with the weapon damage enchant, and the Resto Staff with defending on it. You could run powered here because that would help your healing, but I run defending because you actually do get a lot more physical and spell resist. So which is really good. I run 2 Shadow Dancer. I run it on my cowl and my waist. I use the cowl is infused because it's a big piece, and waist is divines because it's a small piece. I just run infused and divines. I don't really do impent yet. I should, but I don't. Now the shirt, this is where it gets into the not optimized gear. Like for this you would want it gold because gold weapons help a lot, and of course you want this gold, but I just can't afford that yet. So most of my stuff is 160, but there are a few things like the crafted stuff that is not yet. This should be 160. You'd get around 100 more Magicka, but it is infused. And I'm running 5 Seducer. Now Seducer is almost a must need. And this it's a must need, not even a must have, a must need. You get Magic Recovery, Max Magicka, Magical Recovery, and this is the really good thing. Reduce the Magicka cost of abilities by 8%. It takes a lot of champion points to mitigate your Magicka cost of abilities by 8%. So this is really helpful. I run Infuse on the big pieces and Divines on the smaller ones. So 5 Seducer, 2 Shadow Dancer, but this is the thing where my build kind of differs from other people's, is I use Moloch Kina's Pauldron. Now in a perfect world this would be light and divines, but I do not have that, so it's heavy and it reinforced, so it actually gives me a lot of resistance but doesn't really help much on the Magicka side. So the Moloch Kina Pauldron, it does give us weapon and spell damage, which helps because I do want a little bit more spell damage. If I wasn't running this, I'd have below the 2000 in spell damage, and that you do not want that. So I'm running 2 Shadow Dancer, 5 Seducer, and 1 Moloch Kina. You can kind of mix it up and use 2 Moloch Kina, but that would be a totally different build. Jewelry, 3 Willpower. Now, this is not optimized because I'm running 2 Healthy and 1 Arcane. You want to run all Arcane, but I have not yet gotten my other Arcane Jewelry. I will have to do that sometime, but I have not yet gotten it. So, I'm running 1 Arcane, 2 Healthy. Makes you kind of tankier, which is not a bad thing. So that is all my build is going to be. That's just it. Now if you were 501 and all this was gold and 160, your build would be you'd have way better stats and stuff. It'd be very close to what Cypher has, except my build does a little bit vary from his with some skills and abilities. So anyways, this has been your boy Aiden. Like and subscribe if you enjoyed, and I'll see you guys later. Peace.